Okay, so last day you were to create a budget. For some reason this ink is not working. Budget that you went through on the average family. A lot of you were mixed up on the amounts that you came up to. I know Carson's group, you guys decided to do 2013 because that was the latest that the government had out. And it was like 79,000, but when you added up the amount they spent, it was 90 some. Yeah. People are overspending. It is a huge crisis in our province and in our country. And so they did it back in 1986, only they overspent by around roughly $1,000, whereas we're up to like $20,000 they'd overspent. Which is why credit card crisis, bankruptcy, all those are really visual in commercials. You see a lot of commercials that are going to help you with your debt kind of concept because they overspent. Then you were to take the notes that were provided for you from the 18th century and you were to come up with a consumer list. You didn't have prices, you were to come up with a list of items that you'd purchased. And many of you just did it on your spreadsheet and that's completely fine. However you did it was fine. So you should have an amount that you have spent and you should have goods and services from the 18th century as two separate identities. Yes or no? Okay, so what were some of the things from the 18th century that would be considered consumer goods? So goods and services that they had to buy or they had to find a way to get in the 18th century. There's a handout. You didn't even have to search for this information. You actually just had to read. Emily?
They like grew all of their vegetables.
Okay, so they possibly would have to purchase seeds at that point, but they had a lot of their own vegetables and possibly some fruits of that kind. Ryan?
They would occasionally buy meat.
So occasionally they would purchase a meat, but possibly had a meat of their own, or they just didn't eat meat. Okay, other consumer goods and services. So what would be an example of services that they had to purchase? So services in our budget that you guys would have had would have been like power. You have to buy that service. Not many of us make our own power. Possibly more so now than in 1986, I will give you that. So there are some people that have a little bit of solar and have a little bit of wind power, but what are some of the services you would have listed for your own budget? And then compare that to 2000 or into the 18th century. What do we have? Pardon?
Would he eat supplies for the government?
Okay, so possibly some supplies. So the services would be that you had to go to the merchants to purchase. Okay, so you'd have to go to a store. So services of a store. Coal and wood, which was providing their power, their heat for in their home. So you'd have to go to a service that provided that for you. They probably had started some medical services, so when people weren't feeling so well or had issues of any sorts, they would already be starting to recognize that there would be services there. Okay, so now what I want you to do is come up with a chart, and you'll just do this right here, it shouldn't take too long, of how much work that you must do to produce these. So this has you producing it by machine, the amount of work that they physically must do each day. So you can do one of two things. You can do it as in just how many hours that it's going to take you to pay for your services now. Minimum wage just went up to $10.50. I thought Jewel should be excited because her paycheck's going to be more. So it went from $10.20 to $10.50. Lots of times though, if minimum wage goes up, so does everybody else's pay goes up, because minimum wage goes up that 30 cents, then if you're already on a raise, you kind of get that 30 cents increment as well. Not saying you will, but a lot of employers do that. So you can do it one of two ways. You can kind of look at how much it would take to do it as if you are today. So take your budget, take today's budget, so you do your 1986 budget or your 2013 budget. How many hours of work would that take you to pay for yours? And I want you to do it at minimum wage. Minimum wage is probably not what you're making to get $79,000, I can guarantee that. But I want you to see how many hours it's going to take you to purchase something. So we're kind of altering this a little bit. And I can't type on here, it's for some reason, oh, I know why. I'm not hooked up to that part of it. There we go. There. So taking this part here, I want you to, how many hours at $10.50 will it cost you to buy 5 things? So, for example, you're going to take 5 areas of your budget. So say, what did it cost you to have power? Did you have that decided on just power alone?
Household operations were
Sure.
1,496.
So household operations was, sorry, what was the amount that you had?
1,196.
Okay, how many hours just to pay for your power? So pick 5 things like this to decide. Now, this is not an exact science. Why? Well, you're not getting $10.50 an hour. You're probably getting more like $8 an hour after you clear it because you have taxes that come off. I'm not worrying about that concept right now because you actually included taxes in your budget. So this $10.50 an hour is what you get paid an hour. I just want you to have some comprehension of how many hours at minimum wage it would take for you just to provide power to your home for 1 year. This is 1 year, remember. This is all 1 year. This is not 1 month.
I'm gonna pick 5 things right
Yes, so I want you to kind of pick 5 areas. You should get a good understanding of 5. You don't need to do them all. I think you'll get an understanding of that. Then, what we're going to do from there after you figure out how many hours it is, how many working hours in a week, and we're going to go from there, right? So let's just, I'll pause the video here because I'm taping it for Hannah. Hope you're getting better, Hannah. And then we'll continue to move on.